All right, we're going to get started. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion information session. My name is Carlee D'Amato. I'm the Director of Upper School Admission here at SCH. We're so happy to have so many of you with us here tonight. We've got lower school, middle school, and upper school families all represented this evening, and we are so looking forward to sharing more about the initiatives and programming opportunities available for students that attend SCH. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be introducing you to all of these wonderful teachers, parents, and students, and we are going to get the event started. So when I say your name, just wave hello. So to start, the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Raina Guy, Karen Kolka, who is a lower school faculty member and diversity coordinator, Laura Cortez, who is our auxiliary coordinator, summer program director, and a Springside alum, Siobhan O'Connor, who is a middle school faculty member and our diversity coordinator, Polly Kimberly, who's our associate director of college counseling, as well as our upper school diversity coordinator, Melissa Brown, our director of alumni relation, a Springside alumna, and a current and former parent, Simone Tate, senior, Chandler Fatah, junior, and Greg Stark, who's also a senior this year. So all of these wonderful people are here to chat with you tonight. They're going to be sharing with you a lot of different information about the school. Any questions that you may have, please feel free to use the Q&A option at the bottom of the screen to submit any questions. Thank you to those who submitted questions in advance. We'll try to get to everything tonight. If not, we'll be sure to follow up with you. So right now, I'm going to pass it off to Raina.
Thanks, Carlee. Hello, everybody. It is great to have you here. Still strange to not be together in person, but the bonus of that is we don't have to wear masks or shoes because we can do it from the comfort of our homes. So thank you. And a special thank you to our students who took time out of their busy evenings this evening to be with us. I'm sure they have a lot of work to do. I know Chandler does because she's in my class. So my name is Raina Guy, and I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Springside Chestnut Hill Academy. I also teach an English course, and of course, my most important role at SCH is that of a mom of a boy who is class of 2026. So tonight we are here to try to sum up a very large undertaking in just 60 minutes, and everyone is here to bring you different perspectives from various divisions and departments in terms of what SCH is doing for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So just a little background, in 2016, actually the year before I joined the SCH community, the diversity team, along with the head of school, crafted the diversity mission statement. And if you've not yet perused our brand new portion on the website, you should do so, but I have it here to read to you. So our diversity mission is that diversity is a condition of excellence. Embracing a diverse, inclusive community is fundamental to providing the most rigorous, globally competitive education. At SCH, we aim to engage, understand, and celebrate the broad range of human experiences and perspectives. Through our curriculum, professional development, community-centered events, and daily interactions, we are committed to cultivating empathy and inclusion and to nurturing the authentic expression of every individual. That's a lot of words. So what does that mean? Essentially, SCH is a school that is making it known to current and prospective families that we are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is something, like I said, that was built into our mission 4 years ago, but now particularly it is imperative that we are really forward-facing in our DEI initiatives and efforts. And that is why we thought it would be amazing for you to hear from not only faculty, but students who are taking part in some very unique aspects of this work. So I will just begin in stating the obvious. 2020 in and of itself has not been the most normal of times. And in addition to the pandemic, we really sort of gained momentum, for better or for worse, in the Black Lives Matter movement, in the movement to sustain safe communities for Black and Brown folk across the world. And it just really came to a head this summer, particularly, and even a couple of weeks ago, right, with the unfortunate death of Walter Wallace Jr. So it was always something, of course, as the director of diversity, it's always something that is on my mind, but now it's become the hot button issue for everyone. And we spent this summer sort of in a moment of reckoning as an institution, like many institutions across the country, trying to gain insight into the lives of families and students and faculty of color at SCH. And out of that came a couple of things. One was the creation of 4 pillars for diversity that we are focused on. And by we, I mean myself, my team, our board president, and our head of school. So those 4 pillars, and again, this is all available on the website, are to create a platform for discourse with current parents within the community. And we started that this summer. We had 3 parent forums online with 200 plus attendees at each one, talking about diversity, equity, inclusion at SCH. Also the formation of a DEI committee, which is comprised of board members, alumni, faculty, and parents to consider and recommend practices and policies across all aspects of SCH. And the committee meets monthly. We met bright and early at 8 a.m. today. The 3rd pillar is hiring a workforce at SCH that better represents the diversity of the student body. And the 4th is training of our faculty and staff in DEI, as well as rethinking curriculum and analyzing the lenses through which we teach. So those were the 4 pillars that were established this summer. It was a busy summer for us. In terms of structure, if you're wondering how we manage having an early childhood center all the way through 12th grade, how all these wheels keep turning, we have, in addition to myself, so I'm the director of diversity, each division has 2 diversity coordinators. So we have each division represented here tonight by 1 coordinator from each division. We also have the Diversity Resource Network, which is a group of parents who bring programming to the school for diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of their big events is our annual MLK Day. Last year we had a screening of Just Mercy, and we rented out a private theater for families in the community to watch. The year before, we had dinner with former Mayor Wilson Good. So that is where the Diversity Resource Network comes in. We have the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which I just described. On that committee, there are subcommittees, which consist of faculty and staff hiring and retention, student success, student recruitment and retention, curriculum, community, and community engagement. We also have the diversity leadership team, as I mentioned. We have student groups, which Simone's going to tell us more about later, faculty and staff groups as well. And we've been talking with students, and by we, I mean myself, diversity coordinators, Dr. Druggan, our head of school. We met this summer with current students as well as alumni spanning from class of 2016 to classes of people who graduated before I was born, and got their insights on their experiences to get a sense of, 1, how far SCH has come in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but also to take a really honest look at ourselves as an institution to find out where we need to go. So it has been an uphill trajectory with a lot of committees and a lot of agendas, but it was time for this change. It's happening across our nation, and SCH is definitely at the forefront of this fight to create a truly equitable community for our students. So I hope that I covered everything. And now to hear from people who are even deeper in the trenches, I'm going to hand it over to 2 of our lower school experts, Karen and Laura, who are going to tell you more about what is happening there. So Karen, why don't you start?
I forgot I was muted. Hi, my name is Karen Kolka, and I am the lower school art teacher for girls. And I'm really happy to be here tonight sharing a little bit about the programming and the curriculum for lower school. Um, I'm very fortunate to work with a wonderful person named Jerry Allen, who is the lower school for boys diversity coordinator. So I'm going to do my best to represent well tonight. A little bit of background about the diversity work in lower school. We began teaching with a website called Teaching Tolerance, and that includes an anti-bias framework. And so that was, I think, 2017, we might have started using that. It's a great, great program. But we were looking this summer for something that was a little bit more of a deep dive that we could use in lower school. And thanks to Douglas Wainwright, our head of lower school, we found a website called Pollyanna, and Pollyanna is a racial literacy curriculum. It includes a parent and guardian companion guide. So I'll just read a little bit about that from the website and let you know then how it fits in with the curriculum that we have. So the curriculum is designed to help students gain knowledge about race as it has been constructed in the United States. For children and adults living in the United States, race is a topic of great impact and importance. Even though race dominates our media and news cycles, our sense of identity and psyche, race is often not comprehensively taught in school, nor do all households proactively speak about it. Many have questions, such as how and when to discuss race and how to maintain and embrace unity while doing so. A team of educators from Pollyanna have created a comprehensive and innovative parent, guardian, companion guide to share essential knowledge about race and how to engage in productive conversations about race and racism. So this is the framework that we're beginning to put into place in lower school right now. Again, I think it's really important to be explicit and right to the point. So let's get started. So the first thing is that it complements the existing resources that we had in place already. So what do I mean by that? I mean that we've been using the teaching tolerance, and I'm going to give an example in a little while about how I use the teaching tolerance and the Pollyanna curriculum in third grade art. Most of the Pollyanna curriculum is put into place with the homeroom classes, but you know, I can't help myself. I just include it in everything. So art classes certainly include it. And then it also completes the existing curriculum. So what do I mean by that? I mean that we had curriculum already in place. We have a wonderful first grade girls curriculum that has always included the filling a bucket lesson. And so one of the example lessons for first grade from Pollyanna is filling our buckets, a lesson on kindness. And as soon as we were looking at all the different curriculums that are available out there in the world that we could potentially use in lower school. And when I saw that filling a bucket lesson, I was like, wow, this is going to tie into what we already use, what we already know, but it's also going to give language and expression that's deeper than what we've already been included. So that's important. In third grade art projects, I have a lesson called Art and Making Change in the World. And that lesson really meshed nicely with some teaching tolerance components. And then I found that the lesson, which I had begun to expand upon to include a disability and versus inability kind of component, fit right in with the Pollyanna curriculum, which says lesson 7, disability is not inability. And then I also include lesson 8 And lesson 8 is, let me just find it, Seeds of Change, the rippling effects of acts of kindness. So as you can see, kindness is a big overarching theme. I think that's a very important piece. And so when I teach that art lesson, one of the things that I bring up is an artist named Mel Chin. He came to Philadelphia. He was part of the Monuments Project. And the Monuments Project, he did a installation, an art installation in City Hall. And he created 2 pedestals that were handicapped accessible. So that meant that people could come and with whatever ability or disability they possessed, and they could come to this pedestal and they could stand up and they could have their voice heard. And I thought it was just a beautiful expression of empowerment. So I teach that lesson in 3rd grade, and it just begins to lay the groundwork for so many other things. So I just wanted to finish by saying that there's a nice accountability piece as well, where there's follow-up and accountability, where faculty are asked to share with each other and with the community how the Pollyanna curriculum is working for them. And so far it seems to be going very well. So I'm pleased to share that with you, all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Now we are going to hear from the person with probably the longest title in the call. Laura is going to talk to us about a very, very exciting program that she brought to us this year.
Hi all, I'm Laura Cortez. I'll spare you the long title that I have. I've worked at SCH for 10 years now. I'm an alumni, I'm actually married to an alumni, and we have 2 kids that are currently enrolled, one in the ECC and my daughter just started the pre-K. So I'm very excited to be here too. So thank you for that. Over the last 2 years, I've spent time creating what is known as the BREATHE program, which stands for Be Ready to Embrace All Through Hope and Equality. And the BREATHE program focuses on helping lower school teachers, as of right now, to embrace everyday teachable moments that happen within the classroom. Creating a safe place for students, we hope to work to overcome the biases that seep into our society and help our youth to embrace all. Through the BREATHE, though the BREATHE program is not an official part of the lower school curriculum, it operates in synchronicity with the lower school current Pollyanna program, which Karen just spoke to. The SCH lower school faculty have access to over 30 BREATHE lessons on a shared Google Drive, as well as a BREATHE cart that is tangible. Teachers can go up, grab stuff off the cart, which includes all the hard copies of lessons as well as miscellaneous materials they might need or books. The topics that the program includes are appearance, family, feelings, identity, gender, and race. And we're always open to bringing more topics in as we see our students need them. I've worked with a diverse team of teachers to start the base of our lesson plans, and I also encourage faculty to come up with their own lessons throughout the school year as they have these teachable moments within their classroom. BREATHE looks to work with faculty to open up conversations about diversity and inclusion by hosting monthly meetings where faculty can come together to discuss and learn. We hope to understand and overcome the implicit biases we may not even realize we're harboring. Meetings are also offered as needed. For instance, when the tragedy of Walter Wallace occurred, we hosted a meeting for anyone that felt they needed to come and talk about it. As of right now, almost every grade level in the lower school has engaged in a BREATHE lesson. Some have done a lesson to introduce the program to the students, and others have used the program because teachable moments have come into their classroom. I had my first breathable moment this year during the first day with my aftercare students. When we were playing a game, we went around the room to share things about ourselves that someone may not know. One of the things I shared was that I'm adopted. When I shared that, one student looked at me and said, "Oh, I feel so bad for you." And I was kind of shocked because, you know, that's not typically a reaction you would think a student had. So I took this moment to embrace it, and I kind of questioned her. I asked her why she felt bad for me. And she said that she felt bad because I didn't know my real parents. To which I stated to her, I do know my real parents. They're the ones that raised me, and clarified for her that what I didn't know was the person that birthed me. And that to her was kind of a hard concept to understand. A lot of the students had never met someone that was adopted or even knew somebody that was adopted. And so we opened this conversation, which was really beautiful, and it actually gave another student the courage to stand up and say that she was adopted as well. So that was a really neat moment to kind of have my students embrace that, realize that, you know, I don't know what it looks like to be adopted. Apparently I wasn't it. So that conversation was really nice. Other breathable moments that we've had so far, or teachable moments that we've had in the lower school that teachers have shared. Second grade students constructed self-portraits after reading the book Hair Love by Matthew Cherry. The activity was designed to create a safe environment to talk about differences in skin and hair types within their classroom. After the lesson, the students had an open dialogue about Disney princesses and their classic portrayal versus the more recent Disney movies, as we've seen, like Moana, things like that. And they pointed out features that they used in their own portraits and what beauty meant to them. Pre-K classroom created life-size tracings of themselves, focusing on skin tone and what colors go into making their skin tones. The students were encouraged to notice that we're all made up of beautiful shades of brown and that no two skin tones are the same. I saw my daughters are very cute, lots of eyelashes. Second grade class participated in Kindness Rocks project, which I don't know if any of you had seen. There actually was a big project that was started in the beginning of quarantine, but they painted rocks, beautiful colors, and inscribed words of kindness. And the students were encouraged to either hand them out to other teachers or place them around the school where other students or faculty could find them if needed as a little pick-me-up. Then the first grade did an identity lesson, reading a book called Red, a Crayon Story by Michael Hall, where they focused on how to add parts of their identity to their writing. This is an activity that bloomed as an extension from lower school Pollyanna curriculum, again, which Karen talked about earlier. After completing the activity, students engaged in conversation about what it meant to be an ally and how to stand up and accept people for who they are, not just the way that they appear on the outside. So the Breathe program really focuses on embracing these moments that we have with friends and other peers, and how to address them and work through them and learn to embrace all and not just, you know, make assumptions of people. So that's kind of what we've been working on.
Thanks, Laura. Now we're going to move on to middle school, where Siobhan's going to share some unique things that we do at SCH.
Thank you so much, Raina. So one of the things that we're the most proud of in middle school, and I think that is something that's really unique about our program, is the diversity curriculum that we offer through the advisory program. So it's an in-house curriculum, meaning that you can't get it anywhere besides at SCH. And it's something that we've been working to develop over the last 6 years or so. And I think at this point is really in a place that is like pretty custom, both to the needs that we see in our own community, like responsive to things in the world, and then kind of tailored to issues that we know lots of middle school kids are grappling with when it comes to identity. So the name of the program is called AEIOU, and the acronym stands for Awareness, Empathy, Inclusion, Seeing Difference as an Opportunity, and Understanding. And so those are maybe like the guiding pillars that we try to craft all the lessons toward helping kind of to develop those ideas in our students. And so from 5th to 8th grade, students have 40 different lessons, about 10 lessons each year that get at all different aspects of identity. And so to give you an idea, so far, the lessons that we have done in the 2020-2021 school year, we started off the year with an identity lesson where students were able to explore parts of their own identity and write and share poems with their advisory about themselves. We then did a lesson about Black Lives Matter and had a chance for the students to reflect and learn about the protests and the things that have been happening, and kind of grappling with what their place is with the current movement for racial justice in the United States. And then our third lesson this year was about hate speech and a chance to look at the history of certain examples of hate speech, and then kind of making clear different expectations around hate speech in our own community. And then this week, we're actually having our fourth lesson, which is on disability. And so hearing from different student voices and just talking a little bit about introduction to disability. Those are just 4, again, of 40. Other lessons that have happened and will happen this year or have happened in other years range from talking about expectations of women, looking at masculinity, talking about code switching, microaggressions, socioeconomic status. The list kind of really goes on and on. And again, these lessons happen in advisory in small groups. It's a chance to have really serious conversations with their peers, but also those conversations are happening all throughout the division at the same time. And so kind of as Laura and Karen were saying, they then bleed into other classes. And so you might have had the conversation in diversity, but then you have the skills, if something happens at recess, a teacher could intervene and use the language of the lessons, or students might notice something in literature that they're able to then identify because they had those conversations in AEIOU. And so it just really is something that kind of both from a skills perspective and from a content perspective has shaped middle school in really excellent and amazing ways. And it's definitely a program that we are really proud of. Another opportunity for diversity work in middle school are some of the different student groups we have. And so there is the Black Student Alliance that Raina leads. There's a Gender and Sexuality Alliance. And so there's different opportunities for students to opt in to different groups. And then the AEIU curriculum, on the other hand, is something that all students get kind of no matter what. And so we sort of split the difference between making sure that all students are having certain conversations about diversity, that they have the same vocabulary, that they're working on developing the same skills, learning how to lean into difficult conversations, being able to explore parts of their own identity, and then also starting, which I think we'll hear more about when we hear about upper school, but starting the model of also being able to opt into different opportunities for diversity work and to be able to explore their identity with their peers or with people who also are interested in being a part of that group. And so it's kind of a nice hybrid between lower school, where everyone is getting Pollyanna, and then some of the opportunities that continue to expand in upper school, which is a good transition to Polly, who will tell us a little bit about that.
Awesome. I just wanted to note 2 shout outs. One for Laura, when she mentioned the Breathe Cart, something that she was very intentional about was ordering all of her books from a Black owned bookstore in our community. So I thought that was amazing. And then also in terms of Siobhan and the AEIOU curriculum, like she said, can't get it anywhere but SCH. But I actually received feedback from upper school teachers last week when students were engaged in DEI work in upper school, that they felt as though their 9th graders were so ready and equipped to have hard conversations. And that was a credit to Siobhan and Zana, our other middle school coordinator. So everything really just flows from one division to another. And speaking of, and I hope she begins in acknowledging the phenomenal event that upper school had today. So we're going to turn it over to Polly.
Thank you, Raina. And yeah, I'm excited to be here with this amazing group of people. I do feel like there's such a good flow going from all the way from ECC through to upper school. And I was in a group, we had our first moment of understanding today, which I'll say a little bit more about. And I really want to give most of my time to our amazing upper school students who are here. But I was in a group that had 9th grade boys who were so expressive. They volunteered, they thought about themselves in relation to the world and their own identities in relation to a larger context. And it was really exciting. And I agree, it speaks to the work that's happening in middle school, that these 9th grade boys and girls are coming in and ready to have these hard conversations, which is what we do in upper school through 3 programs that I'm going to touch on briefly. And then again, I'll turn it over to our students. The first program is called Student Facilitators. This is its 7th year. And it's a diversity leadership program that students can apply to be a part of after their freshman year. And the 3 students that you see on the screen are all a part of that program, which I'm so pleased about. And so students who apply and are accepted to be student facilitators train for probably about 30 to 40 hours a year to be prepared to facilitate conversations about issues of identities with their peers, both in advisory lessons at times, 4 times throughout the year on our Moments of Understanding, which are half-day events where we pause classes and bring students together to address a theme or a particular issue. Our first Moment of Understanding was just today. We hosted Ishmael Bea, who is the author of A Long Way Gone, Memoirs of a Child Soldier, and also the author of 3 novels. He came and spoke to the whole upper school, and then we engaged in a story sharing activity called a story exchange, where students had the opportunity to share a story from their lives and then present their partner's story in their partner's voice to a small group and talk about that experience of cultivating empathy. So that was our first Moment of Understanding. We have 3 more. And the student facilitators are at the core of the leadership for those Moments of Understanding. The kind of signature event that the student facilitators are excited to lead is called Shout, which is a multi-school diversity conference that happens annually. We had our 5th annual Shout last year and welcomed almost 300 students from other schools around the region. And that is a totally student-led, student-created event. Students in facilitators work to create social action workshops on a variety of topics. And then our attendees choose which topics they want to go to. And I'll read you just a few titles from this coming year's Shout. We're just in the process of getting our social action workshops ready for this year's Shout. And they have titles such as Beyond the Gender Binary, Creating a More Free World. Oh, So You're Just a Little Sad Sometimes. Examining Xenophobia Through COVID and the Media. Consent in Media. Exploring White Fragility. Reaching Across the Aisle. Global Melanin, Black Girl Magic, Euphoria, Glamorization, or Information. So those are some of the topics that our students have created and they're building workshops around right now. And there's a lot of buzz in the upper school, I think, about DEI work. The student facilitator program has 50 students in it who have committed to a ton of time to train and be ready for these conversations. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Simone, Chandler, and Greg.
Thanks, Polly. And Polly is one of the most humble humans that I know, in addition to being a person who eats more salad than anyone that I know, but that is not part of her qualifications. But Polly and Victoria, who is the other upper school coordinator, pour more than I can even comprehend into the student facilitators program, which is something everyone on the screen, in fact, is putting in hours far beyond the scope of their job description in order to really push these initiatives and make them something that students are genuinely excited about. So we will start with Greg, who is going to share with us a bit about a program called SDLC and any other insights he might have about DEI.
Thank you for the introduction, Ms. Guy. So last year I had the opportunity to go to SDLC, which and we just for and other students basically AEI, which is a predominantly white institution. And while there, you get to see and learn many different experiences. You get to even share different experiences with different students. So you go through different exercises, you get to explore the city, which is, for us, was Seattle. And you get to meet new people. There's more lessons. And I'll go. Being a Black student of a PWI, sometimes you feel alone, but going to SCLC, you feel by everyone there. And I really, if you ever have that, I will encourage you to go. It's a life-changing event. And yeah, that's SDLC.
Thanks, Greg. A word of an experience with Greg. I don't know if he's going to be mad at me for sharing this, but that was Greg's first flight when we went to Seattle. So what a flight from Philadelphia to Seattle in order for it to, get your first wing, so to speak. But he did it. He was a trooper. I would just turn around and look at him and say, Greg, are you okay? He said, I don't like this, but we got there and we had an amazing time. Next, we're going to turn it over to Chandler.
Hi everyone, so I'm Chandler, and over the summer I had the opportunity to be an intern at our local newspaper, the Chestnut Hill Local, and one of the first articles that I wrote was about race relations here at SCH, and I was able to interview Dr. Drugan, our head of school, and honestly, just the fact that he was willing to talk to me and be so open about race relations here really, I think, exemplifies how diversity is treated here at this school. There's not really a stigma around discussing and having hard conversations, which is something that I really appreciate. And one of the main things that we talked about during our conversation was how important it is to have diverse faculty here, because that is something that SCH is currently lacking in, but it is something that we're also striving towards. Because Dr. Drugan said himself that having diverse faculty isn't just important for the minorities that would be represented, it's also important for everyone, because when you hear from people who have different perspectives from you and you're being taught by people who have led different lives than you get a completely different education, and that's something that's really important. I mean, just today, having our moment of understanding and having Ishmael Baya talk to us about being a child soldier in Sierra Leone, that's an experience that none of us have ever had or will ever have. And so just getting that perspective is so important. And then also we talked about, well, he actually, during our interview, he turned the questioning on me and he asked what I would like to see change in the next year. And that was, again, something that I felt was really important. At SCH, there's a sense that the adult leadership is really listening to you. When there's an issue, you feel like you can go to Miss Guy or Dr. Drugan or Miss Kimberly, and they'll actually hear you out. And that's something that I genuinely appreciate. And I also think that even though we still have a lot of work that needs to be done, we are making steps in the right direction. And I think everyone realizes that diversity work is something that's continuous. It's not going to get done in a day or a month or a year, but it's something that, will always have to be worked on, and it's something that everyone has to participate in. It can't just be the students, or it can't just be the faculty or the administration. It has to be a joint effort by everyone. And I think everyone is ready for that work, just from the sheer amount of different diversity clubs and lunches and activities we have, and the way that diversity work is ingrained in our curriculum. It's something that is really at the forefront of everything at SCH, and that's something that I personally really appreciate. And I think I'm passing it to Simone.
You are. Thank you so much, Chandler. Not that teachers have favorites. We know we don't do that. But if we did, I just want you to take in these three phenomenal students right here. And like Chandler said, what is difficult about an event like this is trying to take something that is so familiar in our day-to-day practice and drill it down, which I think is a good thing. It's a good thing that we said, oh, we have an hour to talk about everything we're doing. So we are not just, one little assembly a year and then it's out the door. It is everywhere in all of our courses. And I think that is amazing. So our not so nervous flyer, who I was also on the Seattle flight with, and she never went to sleep, Simone is going to tell us about her experience.
Hi, everyone. So I did attend SDLC, and I'm a facilitator, and I'm one of the co-presidents of Voices. So I'm pretty involved in the diversity work here at SCH, and I was in a DEI group for a few years. And so I'd say that the diversity work that's going on, I've seen most of it firsthand, and I'd say that it's very progressive going forward. And we have groups with like connections with other schools like GA and Penn Charter, and we often do talk about these diversity issues and what we can do in our school. And other schools come to me asking, so-and-so happened, like, what can I do about it? And I know I can help them and guide them through these situations, like Haverford, Penn Charter, Germantown Academy. We all DM each other. We see each other at these conferences like Shout and Penn Charter's conference, the Show Irving conference. And we like build this diverse community where we can like feed off of each other and how we can like make our community a better place. And I feel like my purpose at SCH is to make this community a better space for everyone and for the people who are like me coming in the future.
Thank you, Simone. So yes, Simone was in Seattle last year and came to Miss Kimberly and myself and said, we need a group. And we said, okay, can you be a little more specific? And she said, there's so many of us. And, you know, to be all the way in Seattle with all these thousands of students and be able to connect with students from Penn Charter and GFS and GA, schools that we're typically in competition with, right? But the students found, especially being a part of marginalized communities, that there was strength in numbers and they wanted to get together and having, I think it's a testament to the work at SCH, the fact that Simone knew that she could take ownership of an initiative like that, or Chandler was able to interview our head of school and have an article published in the paper. Greg is also doing amazing things in terms of writing and publication and really giving voice to students. So this is not, sometimes even myself as a parent, this seems a little otherworldly. Like, is this real life? This can't be real life, but I can assure you it is. And these students, they had no prompting. We don't tell them what to say. They just share freely. And I'm so proud of them. You know, as a teacher, this is my 10th year in education. My students are my babies. And I am such a mama bear and will go to war and back for my kiddos. But that just is a testament again to SCH because of the fact that I do have a student there and I would never sell someone a product I didn't believe in. So being able to look at Greg and see my son in his place a couple of years from now means that we're on the right track and we're doing really good work. So to get a sense of the student experience beyond SCH, once they cross that stage, we're gonna have Melissa share a bit about alumni involvement with us.
Thank you, Raina. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Brown. I am a Springside alumna. I also am a parent of 3 girls, one who graduated in 2016, one in 2020, and I have one who is currently a senior. So I am busy. But I have the pleasure of being the director of alumni. I've been here for 6 years. I oversee almost 4,000 alumni from CHA and Springside at the time with those 2 schools merged together. One of the big things that I've worked on this summer is that with everything going on in the news, as you know, Raina has mentioned with our DEI initiatives, our Black alumni reached out to us and said, you know, how can we be more supportive? Obviously, things are going on. There were things that were at school that we enjoyed, and there were things that we think that we could help to make better. We had great experiences at the school. We had wonderful teachers, and we want to know how we can be more supportive of our students of color. So this summer, they came together, a group of Black alumni, 12 of them ranging from 1969, which were the first. Actually, I have one from the Springside class, one from the CHA class, who were the first African-American graduates of the schools, all the way through the youngest person on the committee is in the class of 2017. And they have come together. They have come up with 3 initiatives that they really want to work on for the school. One is mentoring. So they really want to work with middle school and upper school and help to mentor those students. Because I think, as I can't remember which one of our magnificent students mentioned, is that just making sure that everyone is seeing all of our alumni of color, and that everyone can still see what's going on, so that it's not just for our Black students, but for everyone to see that we've got wonderful alumni out there that are doing really great things, and wanting to make sure that all of our students have a good experience there, working with Raina. In terms of other DEI initiatives within the upper school, helping to make sure, I think it was Chandler who mentioned, making sure that we can hire faculty of color, and that if they can be helpful in knowing someone who is a teacher that may be looking for something, that they could come over to the school. This year we were able to hire a wonderful graduate from 2014 who is now teaching Spanish in the upper school, and that was a recommendation from someone who currently worked at the school, who knew about this alumnus who was looking for looking to make a move. So that was really great. So we now he is a person of color, and so we have him in the upper school. And the other thing too that the group is also focused on is also just fundraising efforts. So if there are things and initiatives that the students, some of our some of the upper school groups may be looking for additional monies to go on some of these wonderful trips, that to help to fund those trips as well. And then also just getting our alumni back in the fold at school. Maybe many of them have moved away, or so things happen, and you've moved to the West Coast, and you had a great experience here, but you just weren't as involved. So it's been very nice to bring people back into the fold to hear about their experiences. And many of our alumni are also current parents, which is also very nice, because that means that they believe in the school, and they believe in the school for wanting to send their children here. And our teams work really, really hard at making people feel really included. And I think our alumni feel that. There were times when there weren't as many alumni looking at the school, but now they are, and they're talking to their friends about it and talking about how wonderful of a place it is. And I believe that too.
Thank you, Melissa. And it's funny, I actually was facilitating a workshop at a Westchester University conference this weekend, and mentioned that I worked at SCH, and one of the participants in the conference said, "Oh, I went there, y'all are different." And I said, "What does that mean?" And she said that she had just reached out to people who were still connected to the community, and she could not believe some of the things that we were doing at SCH, that she never would have thought possible. And I just want to lift up, before I turn it to Carlee and her questions, other ways in which we incorporate DEI into our community. I feel like right now, obviously with the current climate of our nation, we're really being purposeful about centering the stories of our Black students, just because of the state that we are in after all the tragedies this summer. But other ways in which DEI appears at SCH are our global travel initiatives. So something that is amazing is that students in upper school have the opportunity, whenever we're allowed outside again, to travel to India and France and Ghana, and they don't go on these touristy, let me take a selfie places. They go and they're immersed in the culture. They have to learn about the culture before they attend. I don't even think they're allowed to have their cell phones out during the trip, because it is really about showing respect for being a part of a different culture, which speaks to our work with equity and inclusion. We also do a lot of work and have had students attend national conferences for transgender rights or other things that fall under the realm of LGBTQ+ in our community. We have a large population of international students, particularly students from China, and have programming in place to support them while they're studying so far from home. We do so much: SDLC, Shout, Moments of Understanding, assemblies, a poetry slam has become something that is an annual event. So there really is, on any given day, you can walk onto our campus and ask to go see one of these initiatives in action, and you'll be able to find one. And I think that that's just really important to highlight. But you all have some questions that Carlee is going to field for us.
Just to start, I mean, thank you to all of you for voicing your stories and experiences. It's been great to listen to. Again, for our families that are attending, any questions that you have, please feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to ask any questions. But one question that came in was, what sort of professional development, it was kind of mentioned quickly, but what professional development opportunities are provided with a DEI lens?
Definitely. Where to begin? So we have a portion of funds earmarked for professional development. And so a teacher can apply for that, and they have to sort of explain why they want to go and what they can bring back to the community. And each year we send faculty to the People of Color Conference, which is the adult component to the SDLC conference that students chatted about. So every year we have teachers attend that. We have professional learning communities this year. So every person on our campus, not just teaching faculty, is enrolled in a professional learning community led by myself and my team. And there is a curriculum, there are meetings where we unpack, there's homework that is submitted on Google Classroom. We often bring in a key speaker each year from outside of the community that addresses the faculty in professional development, and then also the larger community and students. Am I leaving anything else out? Does anyone have?
I would just add that the coordinators work with their specific divisional faculty on training throughout the school year. This summer in preparation for in the upper school in preparation for 3 diversity, equity, and inclusion lessons that were going to happen in advisory. We had about 3.5 hours of training for faculty leading into that. Chandler, you were there for that, right? We invited student facilitators were invited to attend, because we know that when we embed students in those conversations, they're just richer conversations. And then actually, we just had a professional development day last Monday, and we spent several hours doing DEI work with our divisions and also with those professional learning communities that Raina mentioned.
Thank you.
We also have the SEED program, sorry. We have a SEED program that we've participated in too. I enjoyed that. I did it, I think, 2 years ago, which was really awesome to do.
Thank you. Another question, we talked a bit about facilitators, but what other organizations and activities do we have in the upper school for students to participate in diversity, equity, and inclusion work?
I can, who's coming?
Simone, you go and I'll fill in anything if you forget anything.
Okay. We have a few clubs that apply to our DEI beliefs. There's Voices, which is like the club I run, and it's advocating for the voices of people who might not be heard in a big group. We want to highlight the voices of the minority in a group, whether it be religiously, politically, racially, anything. So we want to highlight those voices. We have SAGE, which I'm not completely sure about their core values, but I know it's along the lines of women's rights and advocating for stigmas and stuff. Advocating against stigma, sorry. And we have Alliance, which is for the LGBTQ+ community. And then we have, I'm forgetting a few, right, Ms. Kimberly?
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. Alliance is actually our white ally group. That's okay, Simone. No worries. We also have a really, really active Black Student Union that puts on a lot of events. Raina mentioned the Poetry Slam. We've had a Black Excellence Social. The group has a thriving membership and meets weekly. We have a Jewish Culture Club. We have a Gender and Sexuality Alliance, the GSA. We have a Chinese student group. Now I might be leaving something out. Those are the ones that I can think of at the moment, and there may be more, but there are a lot of opt-in activities that students can go to in the upper school that relate to DEI.
And if there's a component that's missing that a student identifies, all they have to do is find a faculty member willing to sponsor them, and then it becomes a club or activity.
Fantastic. Well, we're coming up on 7 o'clock. So I think we're going to wrap it up. I want to just thank everyone that came to attend tonight's event. Any questions that you may have outstanding, Julie Romaine in the lower school, Allison Gatter in the middle school, myself in the upper school, we are here in the admission office to help. Obviously, anybody that is on this panel is also happy to answer any questions that you may have. I just want to personally thank all of you for supporting the students, our families, each other. Your work is incredible. Simone, Greg, Chandler, you're all amazing. Yes. And so I want to personally just thank everyone for being here tonight. Raina, I'm not sure if you'd like to sign it off, but I leave that to you if you'd like to.
I don't have a monologue prepared a la SNL, but no, seriously, I cannot say enough about the people on the screen and the work that we do. Even Carlee in admission, she just always has a lens for DEI, and she's always making sure that she's checking all the boxes in order to meet the needs of all of our students, prospective or current. And we're a family. It's a little like Hogwarts in a way, kind of creepy, down to like the magical fireplaces. But what you see is what you get with us. And this group of people right here is an accurate representation of the care that we put into ensuring that every student at SCH feels valued and feels as though they can be their authentic selves safely in our community. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you again. See you guys tomorrow.